Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Hope you find yourself having a good day today. So we've got a very special guest, someone who helped me beyond words on my journey. Dan from the Overwatch Project, OverWatchChannel. I mean, between Dan and Wayne Bush, they were huge parts of my journey. And I love Dan's approach coming at it from an investigative standpoint on examining reality and what's going on here, including the soul trap and everything that kind of molds together with that. So it's really an honor to have him on the show. So I would like to bring in Dan. Okay, so how you doing out there, Dan? It's great to have you, my friend.
Great, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. So thanks for having me on, first of all. You've really done an amazing job with your channel and your research, and it's incredibly meticulous and detailed, and I have to watch it in parts because some of your videos are like 8 hours long, so you can't watch it in one time. But it is an incredible amount of amazing work you've done.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah,
but let's so I guess we could kind of start at the beginning. What kind of triggered? I know you've talked about some of this on your channel, but we'll kind of do like a summary of events that or things that happened in your life that kind of just got you asking questions. I know you were, knee deep in religion, and you kind of had to deconstruct the Bible and stuff like that. So you want to maybe get into a little bit of that? And was there some pinnacle moment that really pushed you forward? Or, feel free to drop in however you want to go about that.
Sure. So I guess I should, since this is like an interview between me and you, I'll start at the very, very beginning. So,
Great.
So I was born into a traditional Italian Roman Catholic family. So I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten all the way to the end of high school. So two different schools, but one was kindergarten to 8th grade, then the other one was the 4-year high school. And from the beginning of from 1st grade to about 7th grade, during the time period which I went to high school, I would say it was a very abusive environment. And, although at the time, I was a child, so I didn't have I had some kind of inner voice or inner resistance to submitting to everything I was being told about reality or about, what I was supposed to believe in. God has to be this way. This is the only truth. And it was physically abusive because the nuns where I went to school from 1st to 7th grade, they were physically abusive. So if you they didn't like your answers, or if they thought you had an attitude, there would be no problem taking a yardstick or a ruler or a pointer and literally beating you with it. So that's the starting point. During this time, though, I had always had questions, even as a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and I was already like, for some reason, absorbing, or when my parents would have like the news on, I was processing that information. It's very probably unusual for a kid to kind of be aware of why there was a gas shortage during the 70s. I sort of rejected all this doomsday stuff that we were told. First is the end of the world, the judgment, the whole thing where you're back then it was an ice age that was going to kill us all. At some point, it converts over to global warming, and I wasn't, for whatever reason, I was not the kind of person that would just absorb that information like a sponge. I would notice. Well, you said it was an ice age. Now it's heat. How did that happen?
Yeah, I know. What's the magical switch? How did that happen so quickly?
Yeah. You guys have been telling me since I was born that it was an ice age. Now you're telling me that I'm going to burn to death. That's, acid, rain, the ozone layer. It was always doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to live in a world that was constantly doomed. The distractions I would have as a child would always go to the comic book world or science fiction. I didn't feel like I really belonged here most of the time. I felt like.
Did you feel that from?
Was,
I mean, you're saying like you're still young, but it's like, I know for me, like I have this memory of, or as far back as I can remember, just always thinking something was wrong. But obviously you're a child and not really putting your finger on it, but you sense something's up. Like, does it go back like to when you were young? I mean, still 6 or 7 or 8, whatever is still really young to kind of have that, view.
Yeah, there was yeah, it's true. It's very bizarre that at least from the way I see other people are. I wasn't like that. I didn't go along with the flow. I didn't want to go along with the group just because it was a group. So I wasn't very popular. I was the oddball, but I was strong. I didn't matter to me. Now, later we'll get into maybe a possible reincarnation memory I had that could explain why I was like this.
Great.
But there was a lot of different things that would just not agree with me. So let's say. So I didn't buy into. The thing is, the Catholic religion, especially. I'm sure a lot of these religions are like this, but the Catholic religion is professional at brainwashing you with a tremendous amount of this guilt factor that they inject into children. So you're constantly feeling like you're going to burn in hell for eternity. But the oddball thing about the school I went to was the nuns. They would teach more like math or some other subjects. The religion teachers, so it was a mixture in my school. There was religion teachers, which were mostly what I would call like civilian, or they were just actual teachers. And then there was like my English teacher was like a person, not a religious. Wasn't.
Yeah, they kind of had like the different roles. Yeah, I went to a high school that was like that a little bit. Not completely, not all my teachers, but a few of them were like that. Some were nuns, some were, teaching English or whatever, like you said.
Right. So even in the beginning, there was a difference. So when you were talking to a person, not a nun, you could question them. You could engage them like a traditional teacher. The nuns, you couldn't even look cross-eyed at because if they even thought you were. I mean, some of this, I could spend like an hour just explaining the abuse process to the point where one time my mom had to come down to the school because they sent me home with red marks all over my back.
Yeah, I think I remember you sharing this.
Yeah. So the religion teachers, though, they'd be straight up teachers. So and they didn't seem to be allowed to do anything physical. Just the nuns, for some reason, had this license to beat up everybody. As odd as that is, there was one time where, for whatever reason, in the girls' bathroom, the girls had done some kind of graffiti, and the nun, I don't know what they wrote in the bathroom, but I just remember that day because they went nuclear.
I was going to say they must have flipped.
Yeah, they flipped out. And first of all, they couldn't believe that girls did it, not boys. Yeah. And then they sequestered all of us and they like punished them. It was quite the thing. But during this process, so when we're in religion class, and these are like civilian teachers teaching us, the thing that even 8, 9, 10 years old, I would notice these inconsistencies. Or for whatever reason, cognitive dissonance. I seem to have like a filter for it. Like I don't like inconsistencies. I don't balance them out well in my head. So when they happen, instead of just resolving it through cognitive dissonance, I'm like stuck there going, wait, you told me this, and that's the opposite of this. So both these things can't be true. You guys are not correct about something. So I would start questioning them to the point where I would drive them nuts. They did not like it because
Nice.
I have a 9-year-old or 10-year-old. One time I remember they were going over the super importance of always going to mass, either on Saturday or on Sunday, and all other holidays that are mandatory mass days. And because if you didn't go, unless there was some kind of dire, deathly emergency or illness, it would be a mortal sin. Now, mortal sin for non-Catholics out there, this is the sin where you go to hell and you can never get out. And so
ridiculous what they do.
So I asked the religion teacher, just point blank, I said, are you saying that if I miss church on Sunday, it's equivalent to committing murder? Because that was a mortal sin. Everybody in Catholic school, murder is a mortal sin. Unless they would say, unless the state asks you to do it as a soldier, then you're exempt.
Then it's okay. Yeah.
Then it's okay. But otherwise, it's a mortal sin to murder someone. So I brought it up. I said, are you saying that missing mass on Sunday is equivalent to murder, which is a mortal sin? The punishment's the same, so it has to be equivalent to murder. Mm-hmm. So I remember this one because the teacher paused. It looked like the wheels, smoke was coming out of her ears. And then she just bluntly says, yes. And in my head, I'm like, that makes absolutely
no sense.
Zero. I'm whatever. I'm 9, 10 years old. I'm like, that makes no sense. 0 sense. So that's, basically the gist of the Catholic school. I went to Catholic high school. The whole time, it's a mechanism to brainwash people. And it doesn't matter if it's Catholic, it could be any religion, or it could be some kind of materialist philosophy. It's all out to try to brainwash you and condition you. And underlining the whole thing is this whole premise of this authority, and you have to be in fear of the authority and its hierarchy. And these people were all dirtbags. The guy who ran my high school, the priest that ran the high school, mm-hmm. I found out years later, he went down for an embezzlement or something. Wow. He was going up to New York and sleeping with hookers. And, it was just like, can you imagine? Like I was in fear of this person. I should never be in fear.
So messed up.
I remember one day in high school, he snatched me in the hallway because by that time I was under puberty. So you get a little facial hair, and he just like grabbed me like a solid like grab, like you were grabbing like a shoplifter walking out of the store, and he's grabbing me. He goes, listen, because that facial hair's got to go. But you got the weekend, and when you come back on Monday, you better be clean shaven. That's not acceptable. And if I had, if you could time travel, I could go back to that moment. And I go, I'm sure this priest sleeping with hookers is also really
throw it right back at him. Yeah, you're worried about my facial hair. What about your weekend excursions?
So
had the same thing in high school too. Like the same thing. I went to they said, oh, you gotta shave your beard, you gotta trim, blah, blah, and all the time. I'd always push the limits with it. It's like, leave me the hell alone.
It's very prison-like. All schools, whether it's public or private, is a prison-like environment. Mm-hmm. You have so many minutes to get from this class to that class. You get to walk down the hallway this way, that way. You can only eat during this time. It's just the whole process is I believe, in the end, because after you die, when you listen to all the NDEs, especially all the ones you brought up and all the ones I've researched, which was countless NDEs, it's an immediate subjugation to the whatever they have perceived as an authority. They're so brainwashed to just obey that when anything shows up in the afterlife and just says, "Hey, you have to go back," or "Hey, let's check out this life review," and make you feel real shitty about yourself, and then you have to go back, or or if you're permanently dead, eventually you'll, I think it leads back into reincarnation.
Yeah, I mean, everything's a setup job to really keep you contained within the system. And it's like a preparation course just to make sure that they'll get you nice and easy when you cross over. And they don't give you any time. It's almost instant. If not beforehand, if you're dying and you get those deathbed visitations, they're like prepping people then. I mean, it's sick, real sick.
Yes. So let's see. It's at the very beginning. I had this inner voice, something inside me, like that would say, like, this is wrong. Or I remember even having like thoughts pop in my head. What if the God they're telling me is the good guy is really the bad guy? I'm having, these are like, I had no outside, this is a time period where there's no internet. There's the public library, which I was fascinated with going in there and trying to read books from like Alan Hynek or about UFOs, or science fiction books. I used to watch Star Trek. When Star Wars came out, it was like, wow, this is freaking amazing. And I had a daydream or imaginary world. I would go in my head and kind of play around there, because the world I was living in was, to me, real crappy.
Yeah, it was like a way for you to cope.
Yeah, even though my parents were, like loving, they were caring to my needs, my material needs. I never really, I never had a tough, where to say there was some emotional trauma with growing up in type of family, like an Italian, very hyper emotional environment. But as far as like needing or wanting things, my parents had gone through World War II, so they were always trying to give me a better life than they had. Sure. So it's more like the empathy factor. Like when I see what some people are going through, or I see some of the evil being perpetrated, it really bothers me. That's why I ended up going into the profession I ended up going into, which at the time when I went into it, I thought was noble and was out to just stop evil. Then I get in there, and slowly that whittled away as I realized this is just a political operation. And a lot of these people here don't even care about helping people. They just, here's another thing. Like I would have these things where it would pop into my head. And then of course, 20, 30 years later, it makes sense. But when I was being trained and I was learning laws and I was reading like the theft statutes and the robbery, extortion. And honestly, this is the kind of stuff that would pop into my head while I was in the academy learning, training. And I would think to myself, this is funny. If you just change the word to taxes, the definition is still the same. Still the same definition, right?
So you're taking what they're trying to teach you there, or the statutes or the laws, whatever, and kind of realizing the layers involved and how it can kind of go either direction or mean the same thing.
Just because somebody defines it differently. And now suddenly it's not a crime anymore. But if somebody does it and they're not, in the system, then it's a crime. And when I started to, I guess, okay, so after, just to jump forward now, around 2012, which was supposed to be like this end all be all of somebody, some people I knew, and I never bought into that whole Mayan thing.
Same here.
As far as like what the people were talking about. Some people I knew literally literally bought into it so much that they maxed out their credit cards, took out loans on their homes, and went nuts. Because they honestly, they honestly believed that it was like, this is it. We're gonna party now. 2012, it's all over.
Damn.
And I'm like, listen. I said, I come from a religion that preaches the end of the world constantly. The Catholic Christian religion has the whole end thing going on there. And I said, never bought into that. What makes you think that this is, it's the Mayan calendar? And of course, 2012 came and went and nothing really happened. But sometimes I wonder if there was some kind of an awakening in 2012, because it was 2012.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. It seems like that kind of could have been like like a shift, like a switch over, like a very subtle one, but then it kind of picked up, a few years later. But yeah, I kind of get that vibe too.
Right. Yeah. So that was when I really started to dive into this full time, so to speak, the research. Coincidentally, my parents both came down with cancer at the same time, and this involved me having to take care of them. I had a lot of time on my hands, sitting there, waiting, traveling back and forth. And it was at that time that I decided to really, at the time, I'm still totally brainwashed. I had so much Christianity and Catholic shoved into my head that to think that I would do anything to piss off this so-called loving God that would put you in this eternal hell if you ever if you ever looked at it the wrong way. I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse on the channel.
But you're more than welcome to. I swear all the time on the channel. I don't trust people that don't swear.
So you have this literal brainwashing where you're afraid of this deity that's going to strike you down in the afterlife. So at first, the whole thing started off as a research project to find at first what I would term authentic Christianity. Now, it never occurred to me that I was operating under this fugue of cognitive dissonance.
Sure.
I was using all these cognitive filters out of the brainwashing.
Yeah, you're thinking, if you reach like the true scriptures or the true, the quote unquote true version, that that's where you're supposed to go. You strip away all the rigid crap, the stuff that you were growing up with, and then you kind of think, I'm going to go over there. That's where my answer could be. That's I'll start living life more in tune with that, or researching that. And then you realize, right, that they're all bullshit. I mean, they're all
basically, yeah. So it started off as, I'm going to find authentic Christianity. So I started by, I should, if I believe in this thing, and there's this book called the Bible, I should actually read the entire book, not just the sections like that was in unbelievably, I went from kindergarten to end of high school in Catholic school, and I was never required to read the entire Bible.
Yeah.
They would constantly throw you, this phrase, that phrase. It was very convenient. They had a phrase for whatever control mechanism they wanted to, usher out.
And then they have the apologists too. Like they have the I mean, it's nuts.
The apologists, the apologists. Yes, I'll get into that. Remind me if I forget to get into the apologists. But so I decided, the proper thing to do, the only proper thing, and I had gone through learning how to investigate things, how to compile a totality of information to get to the truth of something. So that I was very conscious of the fact that I never wanted to accuse anyone or screw anybody over that was actually innocent. I would want to, when I was working, make sure I had all the available information and process it in some kind of logical way, and things that would trigger other people to put on some kind of filters. I never operated that way. I think actually watching Star Trek was, even though it's really kind of like propaganda, Star Trek, really I look at it nowadays as like this collectivist propaganda. At the time, though, it was people working together, and nobody cared about what you were, if you were a certain race or different alien. People would get together more of that, because of the content of their character rather than their appearance. And so when I talked to people, it didn't matter to me what race they were, how they sounded, what accent they had, if they, seemed less intelligent than somebody else. I would just want to know what they had to tell me, and then I would put it in my big pile of information and sort out the truth from there. So it was a learning experience on how to investigate like that. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people get sidetracked by, that guy talks funny, or whatever. They just get siditracked. They're not listening to what the person's saying.
Mm-hmm.
They're listening to what's bothering them.
Yeah.
I don't like his T-shirt. He looks weird, or she looks weird, or whatever.
Yeah, when the fact should be what matters. I mean, especially in the line of work you were in, man. Christ, lives are on the line. They're free, well, quote unquote, freedom is on the line. I mean, that should be, if anything, there should be a really, really rigid moral approach to any investigation, especially when someone's life and, freedom are on the line.
Exactly. Yeah, you should always be out to get the truth. And you shouldn't be, there was this whole idiotic idea I had that we were supposed to get to the truth, and we were supposed to uphold the Bill of Rights and not violate anybody's rights. But I was working in a state where every other law I would read, I was like, this doesn't even sound constitutional, or that doesn't sound constitutional. And so I became, when I worked, I became extremely passive aggressive. Mm-hmm. I learned how to undermine people with their own rules.
Nice.
See, when you're working in a bureaucracy, it's easy. There are a bajillion rules, and I was very good at the time at remembering them all, or processing, how to apply them. So they would, whenever things came up there, I was like, that's wrong. We shouldn't be doing that, because that's a violation of this right or that right. And so I would figure out ways to make everybody I was working with, supervisors did not like me. I had guys, equal to me that would like me, but supervisors really did not like me.
But they kept you on because they knew you were good.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really that. There were too many bureaucratic rules to be able to get. But see, if you know how to work the system, they can't get rid of you because you're not insubordinate, but at the same time, they hate your guts because you undermine them at every turn. So,
did you ever feel your job was on the line at any point because of pushing those limits?
No, I never felt like my job was on the line, because believe me, the bureaucracy to fire somebody is really, they have so many things in place.
The unions and stuff.
Yes. So what was on the line was my ability to do anything other than base level work. So I never got promoted. I never got sent to some kind of cushy job somewhere. Not that I would want that, but I never had that even offered to me. Toward the end, before I left, I wanted to, before I ended my career there, I wanted to do something off the road. And the only one I was allowed to do was the worst job, which was the front, the prisoner area. So it was like...
What way to treat you on your way out. Jeez.
Yeah. So
that sucks, man. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That was fine. I was happy with it. But anyway, it was. So then, when I started my, really digging into this stuff, I decided, well, you can't say you believe that you have the one true religion over the entire world population without actually reading the damn book that they tell you it's all based on. So I started by around 2012, or maybe it was around 2011, 2012 was when I started really digging into this stuff. And I read the entire Bible. I mean, the whole thing, cover to cover. Now, in order to do it, because I hate reading, conveniently, these books are available on in print, digital print, and audio. So you can kind of listen and read at the same time. Or if you're driving somewhere, you can continue listening. So I processed the entire, I think the first version. I know there's a bunch of Christians out there that are fanatics over that King James version. And if you read any other book, but I did read that one also. Mm-hmm. But I think the first version I read cover to cover was the English Standard Version, mm-hmm. which is essentially the same thing as all the other Bibles. It just has more modern English in it, so it's easier to understand. Yeah. But so I read the whole book cover to cover, and even the Book of Chronicles, which is essentially like reading a laundry list. I don't know if you've ever gone through the Bible.
I have. You actually kind of gave me the interest to dive into it again, even though I kind of knew it was bullshit. I just wanted to look a little bit more into it. And yeah, I mean, I took your lead on a number of things. That was one of them.
Yeah, it's a very long process. Mm-hmm. And of course, at the time now, I remember I'm focused on it. I got to find the one true version, because I was researching Christianity, and besides the Catholic one, I mean, I think there was a total of there's a website that you can go to. It's probably in one of my links on OverWatchProject.com somewhere, but there's like a website that'll tell you every denomination. And there was a ridiculous amount. It was like 1,200 different versions of Christianity or something. There's it has billions and billions of followers all over the planet. So this is a big, big religion. So if you, and it's all these different versions of it. There's all these fundamentalist versions, all these Baptists, you got the Methodists. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You'd be shocked at how many different types there are. And within those types, everybody kind of interprets things willy-nilly or for their own benefit. It's chaos. So I decided, well, I read the whole Bible. So I started reading the whole Bible. Here's the thing where I started to realize I was brainwashed was the first time I read it cover to cover, I didn't even actually comprehend the words as I was reading them. Let me see if I can explain this properly. I was comprehending the words as I was told to believe in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
makes perfect sense.
You can't, you kind of blow past certain dilemmas. Now, where I live, occasionally I have these Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door, and I'm very nice and very polite to them. But when I start, questioning them about Judges 11, which is this, I can never pronounce that guy's name, Jephthah. He has a daughter, his only daughter. He's going into some kind of battle. It's been a while, so, I'm just paraphrasing here. But sure. He's going into some kind of battle, and he makes a deal with Yahweh to win the battle. And then when he returns home, he will sacrifice the first person that comes out of his house. And to God as a burnt offering. So he's telling God, Yahweh, that let me win this military campaign, and then when I come back home, the first person that comes out, I will human sacrifice them to.
Yeah, good times.
Okay. Right, and then now keep in mind, I actually read through that the first time I read the Bible, and it did not register.
Yeah.
Because that was contradicting 12 or the kindergarten to the end of high school programming.
All the cherry picking. This is
an all-loving, this is all-loving being that just loves. He just loves. And so you have to process. I mean, I'm not a psychopath or, somebody that doesn't understand emotion of love. So it doesn't compute. So reading this did not compute. So my brain did this filtering out, somehow magically made me not understand what I was reading. And these Jehovah's Witnesses, when I bring up Judges 11, they all have the same answer, and the apologists do too nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go back to, they all basically try to say, well, did he really sacrifice his daughter? You know, he doesn't really say. And I'm like, you have to be out of your mind to read that entire section and not get that. Yeah, he gave her like this vacation to meditate with these, go off to this temple, meditate with these virgins or whatever. And then he did as he vowed to do, is how it ends. In one, depending on the translation, you may use some different words. It makes it crystal clear that he killed her. Crystal clear. And yeah, I will, bring it up in a friendly, non-confrontational way. And these Jehovah's Witnesses will almost say, well, he really didn't. It doesn't really say that he killed. And like, can you show me that in there? Could you show me where it says that he didn't do it? Because, in English 101, yeah, he did. So, but see, the first time I read this, somehow all this stuff, like in Exodus, where God isn't done raining destruction down on Egypt. So what he does is make the Pharaoh's heart hardened. He essentially, what the Bible is saying is God wasn't done he hadn't got to killing all the children and the babies yet. And Pharaoh was about to submit. So he hardened his heart, made him extra stubborn so he wouldn't, so that the killing and slaughter could continue. Now, the first time I read that, it didn't register. So, and that's when I became aware, because I read a different translation.
Yeah.
And then the more you read it, I started to have like that inner voice again, just like when I was a kid questioning things. I would start to have this bothering little voice that inside myself. It's me talking to me, telling me, "Hey, are you reading this? Because I'm the subconscious here. I understand what it's saying. You better wake up and read what it means." Yeah, so
it's crazy how all that is handed to us and shoved down our throats as children. And then it's also incredible how so many people, this is their religion, this is their spiritual base, and they're not even going to go through the book that it's based on, or they're going to what? Yeah,
and even if they do go through the whole book, they are in a state of mind like I was the first time I read it.
Yeah.
Which is it just doesn't get processed.
Yeah, because they're prepped from whatever age and the indoctrination. So then it's just like, slaughtering and sacrifice. Okay, let's just keep going. Okay.
Yeah, it's also a generational thing. Historically, back if you go back to like the 1800s, it was commonly accepted by Christians that Jephtha, however you pronounce his name, killed his daughter in Judges 11. It wasn't until the 1900s, at some point, that Christian sensibilities, for one reason or another, evolved or changed, that they no longer could accept that and accept that Yahweh was this loving God. So they kind of filtered it out and altered its meaning. So it took me 4 times, 4 different versions. I think the ASW, the KJV, maybe that new KJV was one, and the NIV. Before I started to process actually just read the words that were on the page, and then
let them sink in more.
I'm just reading what the Bible actually says, not what I'm told it means, but what it's actually saying. No different than. And it's amazing because people seem to be able to do this all the time. They can be told something that's crystal clear. They can read something that's crystal clear, and they can reinterpret it, and somehow mash it up in their head and have it mean something entirely different. because they don't like what it's saying. It's a thing that humans do, that if we could ever get rid of that one thing, if we could get rid of cognitive dissonance in humans, many of them would probably go mad because they would have to deal with the truth of things. They couldn't process things this way anymore. But it's so 4 times the Bible. So then at that point, I started to deconstruct Christianity as like not having any. There's no actual any true version. There's a lot of BS here, and it doesn't make any sense. That's when I first stumbled into Gnostics. I had never heard of them before. And if I mention Gnosticism to somebody who knows Christianity, or I'm telling them things about the reincarnation soul trap, and I'll ask them about the Gnostics or the Cathars or something, they have no idea. They've never heard of it. They don't know what it's about.
Yeah, that's a good transition that you made, though, there. I mean, you went right from one end of the spectrum to the other, and really it's I think it's good that you fell into that next. Yeah, probably helped you a lot.
Well, then I realized, there were people in ancient times that actually started to think this, because at some point in time, you go through what is it, the doctor's name? I think you were actually mentioning Wayne Bush last night, or maybe before last.
Raymond Moody, maybe.
No, the one that did the
Ian Stevenson.
Yes.
Okay.
So at some point during this whole thing, I also, was researching all this stuff, and I became aware of all this massive amount of evidence and research that supports reincarnation. And then you got Christianity that maybe at ancient times, at some point, they did believe in reincarnation, but then it was, rules changed because people changed rules for no apparent reason, not for the truth or anything, but, we're just politically, it's not convenient or good anymore. Or religious for our religion, whatever.
I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just think with scrapping something like reincarnation and, having this shift to this super materialistic mindset, at least in our neck of the woods, or the world, it makes it so that right there makes it so easy to have this whole system running better, because if you don't have someone who has a spiritual base or spiritual drive in them, and you kind of extract that out of them, then that there is no reincarnation, then or even if they do have a spiritual base, but reincarnation, no, you might live on and this and that, but if you take away the reincarnation part, then you're not really gonna ever, I don't think you're ever really gonna find the full picture. I mean, maybe you can, but I think the whole, that's the Matrix, reincarnation, soul trap. So, being knowledgeable of reincarnation, that it's happening here, is like a really important, in my opinion, first step to really unraveling this stuff, at least in our times. Tough to say how information got around in old days or previous generations before all this kind of set in, and different simulation possibly, who knows, but yeah.
Yes. So, in the ancient times, somehow they managed to work around stuff. I mean, it is amazing, but information is information, and it just was slower to get around. I remember, I grew up before the internet. So it's not like you couldn't find this stuff. It would just be harder and slower.
Yeah.
Because you had to find a book, or you had to, there was the same junk advertising you get on the internet now. It used to be the junk advertisement you would get into, you see in a comic book. There are all these ads, build up muscle here. Buy this.
Send $2 to this address and we'll send you this book.
Right. So there was spam. It was just in a different spot. So the world, I think, it's always the same. The technology makes things faster and easier when you know how to use it properly. And then for some reason, a lot of people have access to all this wealth of information, and instead they're just messing around on whatever, TikTok, or doing some other stupid nonsense with all this technology. I don't understand where they're coming from. But the whole thing with the reincarnation, when I started to realize that this is definitely supported. There's a ton of research into this, and then you have all of these people in all these cultures, whether it's a culture that believes in reincarnation, or it's a New Ager thing, or the actual scientists that and these NDE researchers that all believe in, or know that reincarnation is a thing that's pretty verified. It's verified, especially through the work of Stevenson. The University of Virginia did all that work, that research.
Yeah, Division of Perceptual Studies.
Yes. And so the thing is that all of these people, and they all it's a learning experience. And at some point, the whole Christianity thing and religion in general started to collapse around me. And the whole thing with this reincarnation stuff, I'm like, that makes zero sense. You cannot learn anything by constantly cycling from one lifetime to another with complete amnesia most of the time. I mean, some people have certain memories, but basically most people don't have a clue. And then you carry over luggage from these other lives. Like if you drowned, maybe you're afraid of water. If you died in the fire, maybe you have instinctual phobia for fire. You don't even know why. And then the only people that figure it out maybe are through some regression things, or maybe they have a flashback. And then they all still go, yeah, it's just, it's a learning experience. Well, if it's such a learning experience, shouldn't I remember everything? There is actually a movie. There's a new movie called Infinite. It's only I haven't seen it. It's available if you have the Paramount network or their streaming service. I think it has Mark Wahlberg.
Okay. Yeah, I think you mentioned this when we talked. I'll pop up the link for everybody so they have it.
This movie, it deals with a group of people that remembers everything from every lifetime, from reincarnation to reincarnation. So guess what? They actually learned shit. If they went, can you imagine having the skill set of 100 lifetimes?
Oh, God.
The things that you might know how to do. Maybe you could sculpt. Maybe you could. Maybe you're an expert swimmer now. Maybe you know how to handle a sword in a professional, like soldier, like an ancient soldier would be able to handle a sword. Maybe you can do archery really well. Maybe you can cook. Maybe there's like the infinite 100 lifetimes. You would have skill sets that would build one on top of the other on top of the other. Instead, what we have is this trash philosophy about reincarnation. And somehow people have deluded themselves into thinking, oh, this is a good thing. It's a learning experience. It's karma, which makes no sense at all. So besides that movie, which I think is called Infinite, or maybe did you find it?
Yeah, I put it there. Yeah, it's called Infinite, and it came out in 2021. It says basically what you mentioned. A man discovers that his hallucinations are actually visions from past lives.
Right, and then there's like a group of these. It's almost like a secret society or something. I don't know if they're assassins or something, but once you get all your skill sets and you remember everything, now you're able to, fight really well, and you're able to. You're super smart because you have all these memories and skills from all your other lifetimes, which makes total sense. If that's how reincarnation worked, that would kind of make sense.
Then you could see it. Yeah.
Then you could see it all, and then you would know when to check out of here. You would like, well, I've got a ton of knowledge now. I've been around for whatever, and I got a ton of knowledge. And it's not like this emotional nonsense that because you were something terrible happened to you in a past lifetime you can't even remember because you have a complete memory wipe. But you have this instinctual phobia or something caused by that just adds to more problems in this life.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, and it's
and you don't even
amazing
know
how they
why.
cherry pick it too. Like, oh, so, I mean, let's just call it what it is. These past life regressions, I mean, they're some interesting, some really interesting memories. And then you have even the pre-birth memories, and just sometimes, someone goes into meditation and has a realization of something about a past life. I mean, that's all fine and good. And there's tons out there to support that. Yes, it's actually happening. Even I've done it a few times with William Bullman's past life disc. But is the information revolutionary for you or society? Just kind of like these people who have NDs, they come back and think they have this mission, and are they changing the world and all this stuff happening like on some grand scale where it makes sense? No, what they do is you get those little bits and pieces, or maybe even some more in-depth things, but it's mostly about confirming that yes, you've existed here before. It's not like you said, the skill sets. It's not like you're able to tap into these skill sets all of a sudden and become a fucking ninja warrior. And then, when you come here and reincarnate, what do? They set it up in a way where it's the phobias that are, the things that are going to bother you are the things that, oh, you're able to take those here. Those are the things that we're so graciously able to take with us in our next life. How nice.
Yeah, it's the trauma. The trauma is so deep sometimes that it's embedded in your subconscious, and your subconscious reacting to some previous lifetime. I suppose this would be a good time to tell people about my possible reincarnation flashback.
Great.
I call it a flashback because it wasn't really a dream. I can't say it was a dream because it was totally different than a dream. But I was asleep one night, and instead of being in this dream state, which most of the time and it wasn't like a lucid dream where I'm aware I'm dreaming, but I was aware of me now, but I wasn't in my body. So I had this dream where I was in the 1770s. A lot of times also with these reincarnation naysayers, they come up with this BS that everybody believes they were Cleopatra or George Washington, and no, that's not true. My earliest problem was from when I was very little to about 7 years old. I would have a recurring nightmare of being this skinny older guy in this dungeon being tortured.
Ah, yes.
And that was possibly. I say it's possible that was something that may have happened to me during medieval times. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't anybody great. I was somebody that was tortured and starved to death, I think. And then in this flashback event that I had one night, I go to sleep, and suddenly I'm in my body, but it wasn't my body now. But I knew it was me, but it wasn't. This is very confusing because it's very hard to articulate in words, this stuff, because it's very hard to explain. So I was me, but I wasn't me now. So I'm in this house, and I have I know about everything now. So it was weird because I'm in this house and it's kind of dark in there, and there's like some couple of candles lit. And the first thought I had, oh yeah, where's the lights? And then there's sort of like an answer comes to me, and it goes, oh, there's no lights yet because there's no electricity. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There's no electricity. And these people in this house, and they put me in this room to hide me. And as I'm in there, I'm starting to question, like, who am I? What am I doing here? And in this moment of being this other person, this name popped into my head, Phineas Ripley. And I realized that I was in the Revolutionary War in colonial America, somewhere in the north, between New Jersey, Connecticut, somewhere in there. And I was hiding these people that were quite wealthy, but were on the side of the revolutionary side, was hiding me from British troops that were going home to home, looking possibly for me. I'm not sure. I can't remember everything. But then when I was in this room, and I remember thinking to myself, this is a weird room. My shoes are weird. My buttons are weird. I would notice all this stuff. Later, I was able to go research clothing and shoes from that era. And I was like, oh, yeah, those are the kind of shoes I saw. And then I was in this room and I thought, this is a weird room. What is this room? And sort of like an answer would come to my head. It said, well, in the future, it's a bathroom. But in this time, it's called a water closet or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's weird, you know. So anyway, I'm in this flashback, and then it ends. And then, of course, I go to the internet before I forgot everything, and I typed it all down. I put it on my website. It's on OverWatchProject.com in the artifacts section. And I started searching for this Phineas name. And I also saw part of another name, which I forgot to tell you about when I told you this.
Just want to say something funny. Like one of the dogs here, his name is Finn. And as soon as you said Phineas, he barks.
Dogs are amazing, aren't they? They understand so much. They really do. I saw this other name, Montague, I think, popped into my head. So then I started researching him. There's not much about this guy, but he was born in 1751, and he was in the Revolutionary War, and I think ended service after the war was over as a sergeant, and then he was involved in some kind of lawsuit for promised land that was supposed to be given to the colonials that fought, and some town tried to screw over the soldiers, even back then. And then, he helped the people get the land they were promised. It's very little about him in history. Very, very little. It's just what was written.
Yeah, because there wasn't much back then. So, yeah, you just have whatever's out there, right?
Right. Yeah. So I did find his birth, death. He died in 1816 in Vermont. And, it just has like there's some kind of website called Find a Grave. That's where I found the information.
Ah, yes.
So I thought, hey, look, there's this guy, this name pops into my head. Was this me in a past lifetime? Could be. It has like a little write-up, and then it says that he was married, in the funeral thing that records his whatever brief information is not about his life. He is married to the daughter of Samuel Montague. So here I have this name of I'm Phineas Ripley from 1770s in the Revolutionary War, and then I see this other name Montague kind of floating around there, and then I see this guy is connected to another guy called Montague, and then
wild.
Right, so that's crazy, right? So it's wild. So I'm like, all right, maybe that was me. And then maybe that explains my personality traits. I have this, like I said when I signed up to do my career, I honestly believed, the Bill of Rights, I'm here to defend it. Well, of course, if I grew up and lived through from 1751 to 1816, I would have a strong, probably thing that would follow me into this lifetime. Coincidentally, I was also born in the area where this guy served. So I don't know where I was in between 1816 and now, but a lot of that research from Dr. Stevenson about his reincarnation research, there's a lot of people, they reincarnate near places they're familiar with.
Yeah. Very similar geographical locations. Yeah.
Yeah. I could have ridden my bicycle to Washington's Crossing.
It's crazy.
So I grew up in the area, right in the part of where the revolution took place, and there so this whole thing, my extreme aversion to like unquestioning, listening to an authority without questioning it. It's like something that's ingrained in me. Maybe it followed me. Maybe that's why it helped me in this lifetime.
Sure.
So the whole thing there as I started to research all this stuff and realized that none of this stuff makes sense. Oh, by the way, there is a book. If people are wondering about how karma, because I think karma is BS.
Mhm.
There is a book called I think it's called God Redefined or something like that. It's written, by somebody who's writing it for Christianity. But he has this. On one hand, the author completely misunderstands the research on reincarnation. And he's one of those guys that comes out and says, "Oh, people just think they were Cleopatra or whatever." So completely ignorant. He's completely ignorant about that. But he has a section in his book that just deals with karma, which he nailed it. He nails it. It destroys this whole concept that they use against you in the afterlife or in these NDEs. If you read that section of the book, you can forget about the rest. But the section on karma, the mathematical, inconceivable impossibility that between lifetimes or when you're born, die, reincarnate, or whatever, that you have to deal with this karma, with amnesia, and with all the mathematical. There is like a way he explains it that when you read it, you're like, oh yeah, total BS, which they use against you, and they get you to comply. And when this whole thing started to unravel, I wouldn't say I call myself a Gnostic or anything, but I think those people were onto something.
Sure, absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah.
They realized that they realized, like I realized, and like a lot of people I think today are starting to realize in greater number, that a lot of this stuff that we're told or we believe, it doesn't make any sense. It isn't really good spiritual information. It doesn't help you after you die, and you're kind of screwed if you believe this stuff.
Yeah,
kind of stuck.
Put you in a corner. Just really quick, I was trying to look up the book. Is it Redefine Discovering and Celebrating What God Really Thinks of You? Kenneth E. Ortiz.
No,
There's another one. Tom says, is this the book God Redefined, Enhancing Spiritual Faith Without Religious Beliefs?
Let me see. Let me try to find it here. Because I know I listed it in my books section.
Oh, you did? I did a search there. I didn't see it.
Redefined.
Might be named something else.
If I can just remember, there's even an interview with the author.
Okay.
And God in the Afterlife. I could have sworn I definitely.
Well, if you run across it later on, you can always just leave a comment in after the video, and then we'll have it there for people.
The guy had an interview on that new Thinking Aloud channel. Have you ever seen that channel?
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff on there. Jeffrey Mishlow.
Yeah. And he and they asked him about reincarnation, and he just like shit cans it, without out of. You could tell the guy's completely ignorant about it. And then he has this great piece in that same book about karma. And when you read it, it's the best breakdown, logical breakdown of karma I've ever read, where when you look at the logic behind it, it just completely crumbles the whole thing. It makes no sense. There was a TV show, which is over now, but I think if you have like Hulu or something, you can still watch it. Okay. It wasn't the greatest show, but it intrigued me because I liked the actors that were in it. Mm-hmm. There was the one guy that he was in the 300 movie, 300 Rise of an Empire, and it was the actress that plays Lady Sif in the Marvel Universe, Jamie, I forget what her last name is. It's called Blind Spot. Because I've never seen a television show explore like complete amnesia the way that this show did it. So you have the main character who wakes up in Times Square in New York with all these tattoos all over her body, and she has total amnesia. She's brought into the FBI because there's an FBI name and tattooed on her back. And each tattoo is a clue that unravels, you know, a new crime or adventure in every episode. The thing is that I don't know if you want me to give spoilers, but she is
doesn't really matter to me. I mean, we could just warn people, I guess. I don't really care about spoilers. I always forget stuff anyway, so I'll end up watching it later, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Dan mentioned that, or someone else said that.
Right. In this, it's a great way to visually see the ridiculously of holding people accountable for something they did in like a previous lifetime after they get reborn into an entirely new person with amnesia, because you can't possibly hold somebody accountable. It makes no sense. So this show is the only one that actually like shows you the ridiculousness. So she has complete amnesia. So her personality and everything she develops now is from all of her new contacts the people that she's surrounded with. So they're good, supportive, and they care about her. And then when you find out many seasons later, the show was on for like 3 or 4 seasons. Some point in the middle of the show, she's able to figure out who she actually was before the amnesia. And she's actually like a freaking evil person who was out to do some really bad stuff. And this whole tattoo thing was all part of a plot. It was a big plot to overthrow the government and stuff like that. And it's, like this evil terror plot. So she wasn't really good before the amnesia. She became good after the amnesia. So can you know she isn't who she was. Mm-hmm. Then there is this great part in the show later where she recovers all of her old memories and still has all of her new memories. And there's actually a collision episode where she's basically fighting with herself before her and this shows you how learning without amnesia would be different than going through this process. And she becomes like a whole new balanced person because she has all of her memories back.
Crazy.
So then she's still good, but now she knows herself more and she's not confused. Better, yeah. So it's the only show that kind of showcases that whole amnesia farce.
Yeah, definitely might have to check that out. So yeah, I see that there is it went from 2015 to 2020. Name of the movie is Blind Spot, just so everyone knows. I did put it in a pinned comment, and it's also, there's a link there to the IMDb if you want further information. Jane Doe is found in Times Square with no memory and mysterious tattoos on her body. That sounds like an interesting one for sure. All right, Dan, so what we're going to do, we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we will meet back here and continue on. Did you want to put any closing thoughts on the show or anything that we discussed in this segment before we move on?
Just one thing. I found the book.
Oh,
God
great.
Reconsidered. It's actually a website. GodReconsidered.com, and it's the author is Scott Smith.
Okay.
And the book is God Reconsidered. Yeah, and I bought it, and I don't know if it was on Audible or Kindle or something. I read through it, and the karma section was like, wow, totally nailed it.
Nice.
Totally nailed it. So yeah, we can take a 5-minute break, and come back. Do I stay on the air
yeah, basically just mute yourself on Zoom. I'll mute myself, and then I'll play some music for the audience, and we'll meet back in about 5 minutes. Just really quickly want to thank AA for the $5 super chat. It says, great job, FC. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. All right, Dan. So let's head to break, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay. I'll listen for you, and then I'll put my mic back on when you come back.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dan. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in a minute. seconds, buddy. 5, 4. Alrighty, we are back again with Dan from the Overwatch channel / Overwatch project. And just as a reminder to everyone here.
Hello?
Oh, can you not hear me, Dan? Oh, sorry. Oops. I had the Zoom unmuted. All right. Sorry about that. So yeah, we're back with Dan.
We're back?
Yeah, we're back. Yep. Yeah, we're live. And yeah, we're back with Dan. Just want to remind everyone out there to make sure to check out the links in the description so you can look at more of Dan's work. There's a lot there. And he's got a YouTube channel. He's got an Odyssey where he's been posting more. He's got his website, Twitter, Gab, mine. So head on over there and check it out and get familiar with his work. I highly, highly recommend it if you haven't seen any of it yet. So, all right, Dan. So let's get back in.
Yeah, let me just say, because there's so much information in my head that I've researched over decades, so it's hard for me to articulate it in a lot of times I feel like I'm not really explaining myself well enough. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's so much there, and sometimes things kind of mix up too, or you might get one point and forget like another one. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of stuff to look into.
Yeah. So that's why I think I appreciate your channel. Is by the way, the graphics and the music, it's all really cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're at godreconsidered.com. So I found that website. It's actually in my links. I didn't put it in my books for whatever reason because the guy had a website.
Okay.
And if you go in the links in alphabetical order, it just says God Reconsidered, and it says link. And if you click on that, it takes you right to his website where you can see his books. And
right.
So it's a Christian author. But, I don't, there's a lot of valuable information that you get from all different sources. It doesn't matter what their religion is or if they're some kind of materialist, stuck in materialism. There's always something in there that you find that, oh yeah, this piece here that fits over there, and it makes you a complete picture of what's going on. So,
yeah, I mean, I think if it was for me, like just like you, if I wasn't able to kind of go through all this different stuff, on my journey, and this guy might be mostly not in line with some things I'm thinking, or total bullshit. But then you have that one little nugget that pops up, like you said in that book. There's value everywhere. It's just a matter of using that discernment meter on max, and the cognitive dissonance got to be, resolved.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, that's cognitive dissonance is the biggest sabotage here, because you can have. You can be floating around in people's minds are truth and false things together. They're all blended in together. Yeah. And if you like this guy, he's got this really valuable insight about karma, but when you read the other parts of his book, he's clearly lacking, or of course he's stuck in this, if I don't make Yahweh happy, I burn in the lake of fire thing. I mean, speaking about that, I forgot to mention during the whole Bible research thing, and a lot of times when I tell Christians this, they honestly don't believe me. They don't believe that it's true, or they're so disturbing that they can't even begin to process it. Yeah. So the book of Revelation is the last book of the Bible. That one took the longest thing for me to process, because it's written like crazy. It's just crazy, like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
It's a great way to phrase it. Twilight Zone episode, exactly.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy the way it's written. So the process, what it's saying, I mean, you have to take it in piece by piece, section by section, and kind of like, but a lot of people don't realize this. So the books of the Bible, they're all separate, and then of course the religion put them together and created one book. So they threw Revelation in at the end, probably because it has a conclusion. You can't have a book with, a book of stories without having some kind of a conclusion to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it kind of makes sense that would be like the last book. So the thing that has struck me as amazing is that people don't seem to understand is what that book is actually saying. It's saying that this loving God is going to come down and just basically destroy the shit out of everything, kill billions of people, and slaughter and burn trees, and all these innocent animals are all going to be destroyed. Mm-hmm. All because he's the loving God, of course. But in the end of all this, if you're one of the chosen ones, you get to exist in a 1,400-mile cube that floats above the earth.
Yeah, like the cube symbolism right up front and center.
Yeah, it's the New Jerusalem city, right? It's described in meticulous detail in the book of Revelation, including its measurements, which are so many cubits by so many cubits by so many cubits. There is even a YouTube channel, I don't know if it still exists, I found when I was looking at other Christians, how they try to explain it. We should get into the whole apologist thing briefly. But there was a Christian guy who actually built a model of this golden cube over the earth. And, he was talking it up like this is heaven. This is where we're going to end up. So he knew it, but it didn't like dawn on him that this is fucking bizarre.
Didn't register. Yeah.
No, right. So when I tell people that even if they are chosen to go to heaven at the end of the book of, like the book of Revelation says, because a lot of these Christians are waiting for the tribulation, that and they're all arguing with each other, get the pre-tribbers and the post-tribbers, and, when does the rapture happen, all this other stuff. And then at the end, you get to live in a cube, a literal Borg cube. It's literally described like the Borg, for crying out loud. Can't you read what it says? It sounds quite boring and horrific. Like there's no night and there's no need to, it's just like you said, like a zombie in some kind of hypnotic state with 24-hour music playing. I mean, it's just like, can you not read what it says? And when you tell people that, they just don't even, it doesn't even register. That's what it actually says. So they'll say their defense is, well, that's not literal. And they have so many defense apologists that, especially apologists, they have answers, they have to come up with everything for all these disasters that they have to try to explain. Spin. So they have this thing where it's not, that's what the average person, if I tell them that, if I'm interacting with somebody one-on-one and I tell them that, they'll say, well, it's not literal. And I'm like, well, the Bible actually makes it quite crystal clear when it's implying something is literal and something is like a parable or a story or an example. It doesn't hide that. It's saying that that's literal.
Literal, yep.
Okay,
yeah.
It's a literal thing. It's when it describes Noah's Ark, it's saying it's literal, even though it's plagiarized from the Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh and other Sumerian texts.
That's a whole nother discussion.
Yes. No, it's saying, it's implying that here, this is a boat. These are its exact measurements. It's not saying it's a figure of speech. It's some kind of metaphor. It's telling you this is it. Fact. Here it is. And this is its exact size and measurements and dimensions. So I don't know how they can process that. The apologist thing, I always had a thing to explain that one, which I've used before. I don't know if you ever heard me say this, but can you imagine if you went to buy a car? And I know I'm a big car guy. I've had lots of cars in my lifetime, and kind of person I am. When I buy a car, I read the owner's manual. I page through it. I look through the owner's manual. You could say the owner's manual of your car is like the Bible of the car. The manufacturer or the maker of the car has written a book about this car. So you can think of, if you think of the Bible as like the manual for humans to interact with the God and everything else, the car comes with a manual, and it's made by the maker of the car, the God of the creator, the figurative, metaphor of the creator of the car. And can you imagine a world that when you read your car manual, it made, not only was it confusing as hell, but you needed to go to an explainer or an apologist to make sense of what it was saying.
Well said. Well said.
Now, they want you to believe that the one true book, and this could apply to any other religion. Don't get me. It's not that I'm against one or over the other, because I just happened to grow up in the Christian one. Now, I could have grown up in any religion, depending on where I was born. But can you imagine, that scenario? That would be insane. Of course, the car manufacturer is going to make sure that not only they dumb this book down so anybody can understand it, they even put like big yellow squares or triangles or something like, hey, if you drive this car like this, you could die. They want you to know that crystal clear. If you operate the car with no oil in it, the engine's going to catch on fire.
But you're not. But it's coded and all mixed up and bumbled and half meaning and half mystery and and all that stuff just to figure out the oil. Yeah.
Right. Nobody's going to write. No manufacturer is going to create a book like. They want you to understand the car. They want you to understand the car. They want you to take care of the car and have it serve you so that when the car finally expires, you'll come back to them and you'll buy a new car.
Mm-hmm.
Now, supposedly the true books of the religions written by, get this, they want you to believe that the being that created the coding for DNA, which is incredibly complex and precise, that designed all the life forms and the balance of gravity or whatever, however the system works here. That the being that created all this wrote a book that no one can fucking understand. that his own creation. It's so confusing that there's 1,200 different denominations that have 1,200, that's just on the surface, interpretations of this thing. And I don't want to get hung up on, Christianity this whole show. A lot of this stuff is mind-blowing to me that people can just sit there. We have certain things we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And I can't go into them. But the thing that troubles me, and I think everybody can interpret what I'm saying here, is never before was I able to observe the level that people would just obey and subjugate themselves. Since recent history.
The last few years is just amazing.
Yes, amazing. And when you ask people, I will challenge, in a nice way. I'm not trying to antagonize people, but like I have a part-time job, and when I'm at work, and certain people are doing certain things, they're protecting their face, let's say, with certain things, and they'll complain. They'll have health and other issues that they'll complain about, breathing issues, etc. And I would like say, look, why don't you liberate yourself and remove the item? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be vague here.
No, it's great. I love it. Uh-huh. And I hate it, but I love it.
Liberate, and remove the item, and they, it's the same thing that I get when people are kind of stuck in a political spectrum. They it's almost like their face or their eyes glaze over, almost like they're hypnotized.
Yes.
And they don't have an answer. They can't answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
They just go like, it's almost like a shoulder shrug. Like, I have to obey. I've got to obey. I got to comply.
Mm-hmm.
I got to subjugate myself.
Yeah, it's just they just are. It's like no matter how much sense you make or logic you throw at them, it just doesn't. It just like it skips. It's like as if you never said it. They just continue and whatever they're doing.
I pretty much have like a litmus test when I'm talking to people.
Yes.
The moment I sense that kind of behavior, I no longer challenge them because it's pointless. It's wasting time. Also, another thing I don't do is challenge people in comment sections. I ignore trolls, or if you want to post your trolling comments, but I'm not going to respond to them. There was even a study done that you can never win an argument in the comment section.
Yeah.
You're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
There's no winning. Most of the time, the person's just out to antagonize you anyway. So,
how long? How long do you think you've been aware of that? I mean, I'll just start off by saying, or continue on by saying, it. When I was first kind of waking up and realizing, not this Matrix stuff, not the Soul Trap stuff, but just like the system lies, all of the insanity that we know is true and that we know have been, used to manipulate, like, the event that happened in New York City 20 years ago.
Yes.
There's so much there. That's just one event of many. But, when I was kind of first stumbling through for many years, I would try to tell anyone I knew, talk, say, look at this, and then I just realized after a while, it's a total waste of time, like you said. And I'm just curious, based on your background with detective work, did you kind of go into this knowing that, or did you kind of learn that along the way that you can't fill in the gaps or get someone to be receptive if they have that blockage? Just kind of curious how that came about, or if it was something that was kind of already within you.
That's actually a really great question, because I was always trying to get to the truth, but when you're dealing with legal matters and stuff like that, it kind of like gets forced into existence. True. Because there's external forces at work that nobody has control over, because it's like procedures and stuff like that. But when you're with this, when I first started Overwatch Project, at first I was a dope trying to say, well, there's got to be a ultimate true version of Christianity, just to find it. And then when that fell off, I was like, this is a reincarnation soul trap. Look at all the evidence. And the funny thing is, I knew I had learned this. I only went to college briefly, community college. At the time, I was interested in psychology, so I took a lot of psychology classes. So I knew about cognitive dissonance. I knew about the backfire effect. Do you know what that is, the backfire effect?
No, explain it to me.
The backfire effect is this bizarre human behavior where you deceive someone, okay? They did an experiment. They basically created a fake newspaper, and they deceived a group of people into believing this fake news story. Then the scientists would reveal that they created this newspaper is totally fake. We just made it up for an experiment. You were all part of an experiment. And to their shock, they found out that most of the group would double down on the lie after being told it was a lie.
Yeah.
They called this the backfire effect. Now, there's actually websites that list all the cognitive issues that can plague human thinking, but to me, it's like part of the matrix, because it's most people will never accept anything than the mishmash, whatever crap they happen to fall into in life, or that they find comfortable. for themselves, even if it's making them miserable.
Mm.
You know, there's lots of people stuck in a religion, or maybe they're nihilists or solipsism or some ridiculous nonsense like that, and they're comfortable there.
Yeah.
This whatever view of the world they have, and you can't give them you give them facts and information. And then I realized, I was going at it, in the beginning in the comments section, or going at it with people, arguing with them. And then at some point, I just clicked on me and said, wait a minute, I know this stuff. You can't convince anybody like this. You're wasting time and energy and just frustrating yourself. Yeah. So as people probably noticed, I don't do as many videos as I used to, because I'm not trying to convince anybody.
Yeah.
Like, either you are willing to look at this material yourself and learn it. And a lot of people, they want you to like spoon feed it to them.
Yeah.
Like, where's that link? Or send me this, you tell me where you send it to me. Like, no, I didn't have anybody send me anything. I went and got it myself.
Yeah. And you search for it. I mean, I've had people, it doesn't happen that often, but I've had people, ask me about something where I've described, kind of like what you were just saying, the backfire effect. I described something like that. And then I would say, go here. And then they'd be like, oh, can you leave, they leave a comment. Can you leave a link? It's like, and then I go and search it. I'm thinking, oh, maybe it doesn't pop up or something. But then I look and it's like the first thing. It's like all they had to do was use the search engine. It doesn't happen that often, but it's like you gotta, that's why I push hard on here to make sure that everyone does their own research, because nobody needs us. We could kind of show them a little bit, but it's everyone can, all the information's out there, readily available. It's just a matter of sifting through it and taking the time. It's a long process, but eventually you just reach the point where it's very easy to see, and it, in my opinion, can't be denied that what's going on here.
Yeah, it's consistent. It doesn't conflict. Because I'm kind of aware of. We all use cognitive dissonance all the time. It's kind of a crappy term. I wish they had a better name for it. But we all have this opposite think capability. We do it a lot of times. It's harmless. Like, can I have 4 pieces of fried chicken and a Diet Coke? Right? Yeah. That's cognitive dissonance right there. Like, I'm gonna have that Diet Coke, or I'll have a bottle of water. I don't want to add to the calories of the fried chicken, right? So it can be harmless in that regard, but when you're dealing with life and death and the afterlife, and also all this way it's geared up to control people and put people under oppression and tyranny, and extort money out of people and control every aspect of their lives. Cognitive dissonance is a lethal, hellish mind function that makes people suffer and needlessly suffer, and can add to that the thing that when you get to the afterlife, these people that have that glazed over look in their eyes when you challenge anything that they're doing as being insane, like you're sitting alone, there's nobody around you, why don't you take that item off of your head? These people are just going to be like fodder for the recycling procedure.
Sure.
To reincarnate.
They'll be promoted.
They're just going to obey.
Yeah, they'll obey, and brought up before, like the Matrix wants those spirits out there, and NPC is a whole nother conversation we can have in a little while, but but they want that super compliant drone spirit that is just going to do what they're told, obey, listen. And those are probably the ones that end up being the teacher or the quote unquote ascended master in these soul groups or whatever the heck you want to call them. And they're just probably knee deep and lost beyond recognition. And that's where, even though we kind of see what's going on ourselves, it just shows how bad things are and how bad things can really get. And that, there's all these spirits out there that just go along to get along. They believe in authority. They believe in source material that is always coming from mainstream. And it's just, and before that, we had religions. We had the town square with the news of the day nailed up in the town square. I mean, there's always been this pervasive indoctrination here. And of course we have the sacrifice, human and animal sacrifice, which is all over history. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of went off a little bit there, but
yeah, no. It's sometimes, I think there's even a YouTube channel called Wake the Sheep. It's like one of those police audit channels, I think. But I'm like, it dawned on me one day when I was looking at that phrase, wake the sheep or awakening the sheep. And I'm like, if you awaken the sheep, you just have a bunch of sheep that are awake, still sheep. For some reason, I'm not a sheep. I refuse to be a sheep. I don't want to be a sheep. I'm also not an evil psychopathic predator. See, so I don't want to rule over others. I don't want to oppress others. I don't want to make others suffer. So what am I? I'm not a sheep, but I really despise predators and psychopaths, and they seem to be running the whole world here. And apparently they run the afterlife as the parasites, they're called the archons and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's this multi-realm attack on us to just keep us coming back here. Or, I firmly think that, no way of knowing for certain, but I firmly believe that there are other likely physical realities that may be similar to Earth, or could be total freak shows. I mean, as if this isn't a freak show enough, but I mean, theoretically, as bad as it is, it could be worse. I mean, it really could. And that's hard to fathom, but it could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, this world itself, just this world has different degrees of worseness. I mean, you could be like in Florida here. Yeah, we're still not, even though it's not North Korea and it's not New York City. It's still not actually free. It's just that you see it in degrees of
different
freedom.
Severity. Yeah.
This world is horrible. When you really break it down, it's absolutely horrible. It's, if you wanted to design a hell, how would you make it much different than this place? It just mind boggles me. And what don't they want you to do? We're probably getting toward the end here, or near the end, but I want to focus on some solutions or some mindsets.
Sure, yeah, and we can we'll have some other talks too. I don't want to, I want you to be comfortable, and I know that sometimes the streams can go long. So however long you want to go is cool with me. If you want to go 2 hours or longer, we can always do a part 2, or we were talking about doing, a small series, kind of like what I did with Wayne. I think that would be fun.
Oh, that would be great. I have emailed him in the past. Before I knew about you, I discovered Wayne. Wow, what a researcher. His website is mind-blowing. But the
incredible.
The whole thing here with the Earth, it's just, these people are just infuriating. Like, you have these people, these New Agers and some of these other people. Oh, it's the Earth is a great place. It's just so full of love. I'm like, what planet are you looking at? Have you not seen some of the horror that goes on around here?
And it's well documented in history too. I mean, even though we know a lot of history is a lie, there are these certain, horrors that are repeatedly there, and we see them happening in our existence. So we know that at least we know everything and how everything as far as like the human condition goes, and the parasitic rulers, that are, presidents and congressmen and all that stuff, corporate CEOs and leaders and blah, 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 blah. And so we know that that's a rational thing that is likely happening in history. And then of course the whole sacrifice thing, like we were just talking about. I mean, it's like, that's a pervasive thing that we see time and time again throughout history. So where was this magical utopia that existed?
Yeah.
Nowhere. I don't see it.
We don't know. I mean,
maybe it existed.
I mean, it could, maybe. I mean, we have lost history. I mean, best we have records that go back maybe 10,000 years. That's about it. We don't know what happened before that. We don't know about lost civilizations. We don't know about any of this stuff. Is the system recycled once in a while? Reset it so that it can begin again. I don't know. The whole thing, though, with every version of the Matrix, as a lot of people we kind of call it, that it has a certain core element that is always it desperately doesn't want you to do. So the first thing that the system is set up to do is to break down your individuality as much as possible. They would like you to not be you. They want you to be part of a group or a collective. They want you to be part of this group mind. And that can take any form. It's your religion, it's your materialism, it's your statism, whatever form it takes, it just wants to break down your individuality. Then they throw this stuff at you nonstop, where they want you to believe that everything is really just one thing. You're just one with everything else. And I don't buy into any of that stuff anymore. I think that's all utter, complete nonsense. I think my spirit is completely individualized. Yep. And only I can surrender my individuality with my free will if I'm stupid enough to buy any of this crap that they're selling. And so it didn't work out with me. So I was able to resist that, and therefore I'm not part of it. See, none of the reality model with that, where it's all one consciousness, everything's all one thing. It doesn't work. If you can make it seem like it's that, but it's not really that. If you, for example, I'll use the comparison to a computer. If you have a laptop or wherever you're on right now, over Zoom meeting, it's a computer and it's a standalone, completely isolated device. It doesn't require the internet or other computers to exist. If you connect it to the internet, it now has access to all this other massive amount of information. Yeah. From an outside perspective, it might look like the internet is this one thing, but in reality, it's just separate things that are connecting, networking together.
Great point. Really good point.
So when you connect to the internet, your computer is now connected, but it's still its own single thing. It does not become the internet. The internet is not your computer. And I think an individual spirit is the same thing. It is one thing. And people have this thing they describe in NDEs, like, oh, I saw the tree and I was one with the tree. And these are all interpretations that they're giving you. But when I'm listening to them, I'm hearing they networked with this tree. And now they know everything about the tree. But they're not the tree. Okay? They network with this group of people, and they're one with, in some sense, they're in a oneness. It's a connection.
Because if that tree wasn't there in their reality, it would make probably no difference. Maybe perhaps you do have like an interconnectedness within the matrix itself, but it's it's a tough one, because they want us so badly to believe in that, all is one, we're all one type thing. It's a big narrative out there.
They've packaged it in all different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So religions do it in their way. You have the Buddhist stuff there. That's more like, oneness and unattachment. And it's more kind of wishy-washy. And with Christianity, it's you become a slave to Christ, right? You become this slave. They literally tell you you're a slave, you're a sheep. I have a church near me. It's called the Harvest Church. I'm like, holy crap, really? I
think actually I saw. It's funny. You know what, man? I'm not going to bring it up just for safety purposes. We'll leave it alone. We'll leave it alone.
Here's the thing. The whole thing is, if you want to describe, if you want to continue with the comparison of the computers, the matrix system of Earth is like a computer that's in a building that's networked inside the building. So it has only access to the network inside this confined space. Outside that confined space, there's this massive internet or universe that we're not connected to. That's why we're cut off here. Right? You incarnate on Earth from this outside realm. I mean, if you believe in, that Robert Rowe probably may have documented his out-of-body experiences accurately, there's like a gatekeeper, and Earth has this mental band noise that attracts spirits.
Yeah.
And, it's enticing. It's like, what's going on there? They can see all the activity. They don't understand the suffering, the horror. But they kind of like get intrigued, and they sign up, like almost like clicking the terms of service. Who reads the terms of service when you go and use something? Oh, well, I start my computer for the first time. Click here and agree to all this bajillion pages of crap, and you're like,
fine print.
Well, you don't notice anything, so you click it and you go on your way, right? And Robert Monroe described that almost exactly. The gatekeeper had his like the terms that you need to agree to so that you can incarnate on Earth. And in fact, people were in such a rush to get in there, they would just agree to anything. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah, because you brought up that Monroe thing right there. That's exactly how I envision. There's some a frequency out there that kind of attracts us, or gets our interest a little bit, and then I think you kind of we get sucked in a little bit more and more until eventually we kind of reach the door, the gate, so to say, and then it's like, okay, well, hey, you want to come experience this? Well, this is what's involved, and then you just boom, lose yourself, and it's all downhill from there. That's kind of
sure. They're gonna peddle it to you in a very exciting way. Oh, it's so exciting! You have to be this other person, and you won't remember who you are right now because that'll make it more fun. See, you'll be. And to me, it's very video game like. I'm a gamer. I like gaming. I can relate to the reality. People get caught up in is it a flat Earth? Is it round Earth? But like I was explaining to you one day, my PlayStation has environments that are programmed in there. I can experience them through my monitor of the PlayStation, but in fact, there's nothing there. It's just information. Yeah. Information is what's causing me to perceive my environment as this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah, you need to connect to that individual whatever. in order to extract that information to your screen. So that is, us taking that individual intention to, let's just say, to go to Dan, your website. But I need to go there and then the information comes to me. But that's an individual act of, transmission, I guess, intention.
Exactly. Yeah. So you experience life here almost like an avatar that you're occupying in a video game. And it's horrible because it's like you're born into death here. I mean, you're born to die. You're at best, if you're fortunate, you live in a place that's quasi free, meaning you can do more things freely than some other places on earth. If you're fortunate enough to have a healthy avatar or body, maybe an attractive body, and you're healthy, and maybe you can have after you get done with childhood, and if you're not messed up by some abuser, or if you don't get raped or whatever, or if you're not a victim of some horrific crime, if you manage to bypass all that stuff and you have some kind of job or family estate that can supply you with your physical needs, and the world is kind of stable if you're fortunate enough to live in that time period, at best you have 20, 30 peak years of human existence.
Or it starts breaking down. Yeah.
Pleasant. And then no matter what you do, like you see these Hollywood people, they spend money and who knows how much money and time and effort and medical procedures to try to delay or keep their appearance from falling apart. And no matter what they do, eventually,
catches up with them.
Yeah, it's going to end up killing you. So the only true,
and that doesn't even mean that they're happy. I don't think any of those celebrities are happy. Any of those people that feel they need to go to a doctor and get all these surgeries just to look good. That just shows they're insecure and that they're not really happy with themselves. I mean, that kind of thing
happy.
too.
They're probably not happy. But if you're just a regular person and you happen to be healthy, attractive, and live in a stable environment and have means to, you don't have to be rich or anything, but if you have means to get the things that you kind of want with some luxuries, at best, you have 20, 30, maybe 40 years tops where you're in kind of like peak operating condition. And then you're just going to decline. You're get old and you're going to get sick. Or even if you stay as healthy, like there was that, when I was little, there was that fitness guy, Jack LaLanne. I don't know if you remember that guy.
I'm not familiar with him.
He used to be like on Saturday mornings. He was big fitness guy.
Okay. I think my era was more like Richard Simmons bullshit.
This is more like Simmons. But the guy was old and he still tried to maintain physical fitness and all that. But eventually, he just died. He's gonna get old. No matter the human body is kind of, when you really think about it, kind of
crap,
kind of a gross avatar to be stuck in. I mean, when you think about, you're a non-physical spirit, eternal, and probably a lot of these NDEs, like you've researched, the expansion. They describe they're expanding. Their consciousness is finally free of the limiter of the human body and brain. And what's the first thing people start saying? I've never felt so fantastic.
First thing they'll say.
I started to expand. Everything was expanding. It's like, who knows what the limit is? We don't even know.
I know.
I mean, could you make your own universe?
I think you can. Nonsense? I think, universe, I would think, why not at some point? I think we could easily build our own reality. We know we can manipulate and create things within, we can call it the matrix reality. So why not a universe? And that kind of brought up even the in the unsub special about the one, God or the one true creator, which one is it? Where, I mean, who's to say that we can't even bring, we can call it life into existence? I mean, is that the one thing that's kind of not allowed? I mean, there's so many questions and possibilities that we just don't have access to because of this stupid body that governs our experience. I mean, the brain and the body and the eyes act as a governor for the experience around us, and that's why we're so limited. I mean, this it's a poorly designed. I mean, really, it's poorly designed meat suit, and it is clearly, in my opinion, by design. I mean, it's all part of the whole thing to keep us ignorant and very running on very limited abilities, I guess.
Yes. So they want you to surrender your individuality. Mm-hmm. And the other thing they want to desperately keep people away from is individualized pursuits of spiritual power.
Well said.
Now, this is like sometimes described as witchcraft or certain kind of occult things. But in traditional, I've studied a lot about that too, that learned about that kind of stuff just to see what was going on there. Like a lot of people, like Mark Passio, would describe the rulers of Earth as dark occultists. But when I started researching all this material that he was putting out, and I went and researched other sources, I found that that is an incorrect statement. They are evil occultists. Good and evil exists. These two forces are a choice of intent. There's something advanced about the human condition where our spirits reside in the body that has access to an additional awareness that other life forms on Earth don't have. This divine level of awareness, if you want to call it that, allows us to know intention, good and evil. And they're not the same forces as light and darkness. For example, if you're doing like home remodeling, you're going to have to demo something. You're going to have to destroy something to then create. Let's say you want to
bring in the new.
Say you want to redo your bathroom. Okay.
Boy, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. So the first thing you have to do is an act of destruction. You're going to have to demo the bathroom, and then you're going to have to rebuild the bathroom. Okay. Now, in pure understanding, there's nothing evil there. The destruction is not evil, even though it is an act of destruction. Why isn't it evil? Because we understand the intent behind it, the reason behind it. So people conflate this a lot, and these New Agers and all these other people, and even religions, they do this all the time. They conflate the forces of light and darkness with forces of good and evil. These are two separate, entirely separate mindsets. A lion, if you were, there is a movie. I don't think it's meant to be funny, but I kind of laughed when I saw it. It's some new movie with Rebecca Romaine. I don't think her last name is Stamos now, but I saw the trailer. I do want to watch it. I think it's called Endangered Species.
Okay, I'll look it up. Okay.
Okay. These are people that this movie made me laugh. The trailer made me laugh because it's these people that have gone into a safari area in like Africa. And I thought it was hilarious because they're like, oh, it's nature. Oh, it's so fantastic. Look at it. It's so beautiful. We're going to go on safari. We're going to see the rhinos and the lions. And in the trailer, within a few, short time, they took a wrong path and they ended up in a kind of like area they shouldn't have been in. And this rhino charges their vehicle and flips it on its side. And then one by one in the montage of the movie, they're being picked off by lions, hyenas. It turns into a nightmare, right? Now, on top of that, there's poachers that they accidentally stumble on, and now the poachers are also trying to kill them. This is all in the trailer. It's not a spoiler. It's just in the trailer. And what you have there is a great example of what I'm talking about. Are the lions or the hyenas or any of the other beings in nature that are not human
evil?
Are they being evil? They're not. They're
It's
not
their
being
survival
evil.
instinct.
It's what they are built to do. They are predators to balance off the plant eaters and so forth. It's like right out of Robert Monroe's garden, of his Loosh garden.
Great reference. Yeah, great reference.
Right.
Yep.
So there's no intent or by a hyena or a lion that comes across this stupid tourist that thought that it would be a great idea to wander into an unpopulated area that humans don't live in, but that predatory animals do, and then you get eaten alive by them. The lion is not evil.
No.
But yet it's a force of darkness or a force of destruction, but it's completely not evil.
Yeah, it's built within the system of the animal. I mean, it's just is what it is. Just like we need to eat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Now, what else did they encounter in this trailer for this movie? They encountered the two poachers. The two poachers are killing endangered animals for profit, and then they stumble onto these tourists that could now be a problem for them legally. So they want to kill the humans. There's a complete different mindset for the poachers than for the lion. Yet they're both trying to kill the people, except one is doing an evil act that's clearly defined as evil, and the other creature is just behaving naturally.
Yeah.
It has to eat. It's a predator, and it knows how to hunt, and it's designed that way, with onboard weapons, heightened senses, agility, and skills to hunt and kill food when it's hungry. It's not doing anything evil, though. So same thing with these religions, like in Christianity and other religions, they desperately tell you, where like in Christianity, where you find a witch, stone her to death. Why? Because in traditional witchcraft, not the later religious-sized version of like Wicca, where now they have a structure and a religion.
Yeah,
whereas
like
a loner,
church.
they're loners. They're practicing alone.
Yeah.
You can ditch the word witchcraft and just use a practicer of spiritual techniques.
Yeah, I mean, the covenant thing has been huge. So it's just the same old song and dance to take you away from your individualism.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Because if you're see, there's a whole different mindset. If you're like, there's I've been in contact with just a kind of made online friends with one of these traditional occultists who is not evil. She does work in healing, but also has written books about dark magic. And her books are quite honestly be no different. It's like she writes, if somebody's raped and their rapist escapes justice, how is it evil if you use magic or something to bring down some kind of retribution on it?
Yeah.
And when I read that, I realized that what she was saying is that this is no different than you using a handgun or a knife or other tools or a fist for self-defense. Sure. It's always the intent that matters, not what you're doing.
Yeah.
So by claiming your individuality, by saying I'm an individual, I don't really, I may interact with groups, I may participate in group activities, but I am always aware of my individuality first. And it's my intention to be good, not to be evil, that sets me apart from most of these other people that are going along with group mind, perpetuating or enabling the evil people that run the world to do evil acts because they are the people that enable them. There's no delusion. I don't see me as being subjugated. I see myself as I'm in a world where I have a physical body and I'm being coerced.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. 100% with you.
Right. So now you have the proper mindset. So now when you end your life, in my theory of how this might work is your life ends and you have this individualized, self-empowered identity. So when this freak show comes out and says, whatever form it takes, it will shapeshift into whatever may work. For me, my biggest weakness may be cute dogs.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure, me too. Yeah, I think
right?
they'll try to use dogs, but I don't know. Part of me says they're not going to try anything, but because that's my intention. But yeah, if they were, they would use something like dog. Yeah.
Whatever they can they profile you, read you, and then they try to employ it. So now, if you're self-empowered and as an individual, and you're not subjugated, but now you're no longer in the physical body. So coercion, could it really work anymore? No, because in the spirit form, it's really all mindset and what you think happens.
Yes.
Even in Dr. Monroe's first book, when he's explaining he was kind of afraid, and a lot astral projectors, when it first happens to them, they become kind of frightened. And then these little creatures or parasites may show up, to try to feed off that fear. And eventually, what did he do? He said he imagined and projected out like electricity from himself, and it scared them away. Yeah. So, and you can read other examples from different people, but what I'm saying is, when you no longer are subjugated under a fake authority and you exit your body, and now your avatar, your body's fully dead now, and you're just in spirit form. I would hope, like somebody like you, Mark, or other people with this that have this understanding, that these things would turn and run the other direction because they won't want to have to deal with you.
Yeah.
Because you are now dangerous. You're an unlimited consciousness that's no longer with the mental corruption of being some kind of mental slave. So I would say they would not. I'm telling you, I'm quite pissed about this whole thing. So when I get they're not going to be able to use stupid life reviews, all this other garbage on me. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's just not. Nothing is. Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to happen. It's that desire to, or that burning intention to be sovereign and liberated and do your own damn thing and not be answering to anything outside of yourself. That's really, that's right. When it's stripped down, that's what it's all about. Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's exactly, because, we always talk about this matrix system, and it's terrible, but we need to have some kind of understanding of a solution. Mm-hmm. And these, while you're here in human form, as long as you're not under some delusion that somebody actually has an authority over you, that you're literally being coerced. Yeah. It's a coercion, right? Yeah. You have to, if you live in a house, people are really delusional here. I've told people this before. Like they say, well, I own a house. Do you? No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You don't own anything, even if you paid off the mortgage. If you're free and clear of all debt, you still have to pay the property taxes.
Yeah.
And which is actually a robbery. Mm-hmm. It's literally a robbery.
Flat out robbery.
Right. What they're telling you is you have to make this payment. This arbitrary amount of money we're going to collect from you. If you don't pay it, we're going to come and take your house away. Yeah. We're going to take you and kick you out of the house and take the house. If you resist, we'll use force. Yeah. If you resist enough, you could end up dead.
It's gangster. It's gangster activity and extortion and yeah. I mean, there's exactly nobody owns their home, because if you don't do what you're supposed to, like you said, they'll come and take it. You put force out there, they can kill you.
Right. So
or injure the hell out of you.
Yeah, and none of this stuff was supposed to happen. Under the original founding of this country, there was no IRS. There was not supposed to be any of these taxes like we have now. This is all wrong. But at the same time, it's here regardless, and we have to deal with it. But don't be under some fictitious delusion like you actually own the house. Just admit to yourself that I'm being coerced to pay this amount of money so I can keep this home I'm living.
Yeah.
That way you're not under some kind of illusion.
Yeah, at least be honest with yourself. Yeah.
Always try to be honest with yourself. Yeah. Don't live that way. When you get to the afterlife and they do shit to you like, oh, here's your life review and look at this, look at that. You know what? You know what's going on there? They're gonna show you something that, oh, you made this person feel horrible. But then you know what? When they show that person their life review, when it comes time to show them what you did to them and how horrible they felt, they're going to twist that around and say to that person, that was a learning experience.
Yes.
Look at how that helped you become a better person because that person did that to you. At the same time, they're telling you got to reincarnate.
Yeah, you didn't get it quite right. It was a learning experience, but you still got a little more to work on.
Well, what I mean is they'll take the suffering that they went through or whatever insult or whatever you threw at them, and to them, they'll say, that's a learning experience, but look at this other part where you made this other person feel bad. That's bad, and you have to fix that. And, it's all a big joke. And once you understand it, you're not a delusion. Yeah. Of course, I hurt people accidentally. I'm down here, not intentionally. It's not my heart to cause other people pain. Yeah. Did I cause people pain? Hell yeah. Hey, maybe if you guys let me have some of this other spiritual power I have in the human body, I would never have done that. Yeah. If I remembered on my last lifetimes, I wouldn't have done it because I would have known, I would have learned from it. You fucking idiots created this system. Why don't you go reincarnate?
Yeah. Yeah, like you said before, why don't we see your life review? Exactly. What do you got? Yeah. What's in your closet?
Yeah, can you imagine?
Oh God, the horrors! Oh my God,
bunch of loosh, and there has to be I think I don't know if I'm right about this, but I think the human condition was created for some kind of elevated fancy loosh. Mm. You got the way Monroe wrote his description of this place, there was some loosh production from all the killing, the predatory animals going after the non-predatory animals, but
you also had the love.
The top loosh comes from, the love, I think the fear. They had to create a life form that was elevated with a sort of God level awareness, yet dumbed down enough so they didn't know what they were. So you reincarnate here as human. Now you have this enhanced awareness and mental capacity with the knowledge of intent and good and evil. And then you create this world of absolute chaos and total nonsense information, and people believe all this crap. And then you watch them all kill each other, cause suffering, mayhem. There's also love and hate and war and peace and all this other stuff. And I think that makes some kind of, because when you go to the grocery store, you got your basic, or let's, how is it? If you go to a steak restaurant, you got your menu, right?
Yeah.
And you have the filet mignon, or you have like the T-bone and the higher end parts. And then you have the cheap meat. And no, maybe Loosh works something like that. Maybe there's the low grade Loosh, whatever it's used for. And then there's this high quality Kobe beef, Lush.
Yeah, it's a good way to compare it there. Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that cause deluge or is that they like, but it's just about, yeah, like you said, there's certain grades that are more appealing or needed or necessary, I don't know, than others.
More valuable, I think, is the way
Okay.
Monroe described it. It has a great value to someone, somewhere, for something. I love the way he wrote that stuff, man. It was,
it's great. It's really well written.
And I think you're right. You know, like other people like William Bowman, I think he has become more aware, but he has a business to run, so he can't go all negative.
Yeah, I have no doubt that he knows. I mean, he works with Monroe personally. You know, he works at the Monroe Institute. He's very aware of that. And then, you know, he puts out that speech and that book, basically is telling you, do your own thing. You know, you got to transcend this whole experience and be you. I mean, that's
the key. Somebody in the comments, I think, mentioned Jupiter Ascending, that movie. Yeah. That's a great movie about Lush. I mean, a lot of fiction has better information than you can get anywhere else. I don't know if that comes from the subconscious of the creator or the writers. That's coming out of their subconscious, or if they're doing it intentionally. Can't tell.
Yeah, I think it could be both. I think it could be entity communication. Some of them could be just flat out knowing conduits for entities to make sure that certain information gets released in whatever way, through movies, TV, radio, music. And then there are others that, like you said, it's like some subconscious realization. Could even be from past experiences, past lifetime, past knowledge, that just kind of spills over here. But I think a lot of that, I mean, just with the music stuff, I mean, all the admissions that we have in music, and even script writers, and we've heard that, you know, they don't know where they'll say, I don't know where I got it, you know, or I dreamt of this song lyrics and it came to me, or this, I mean, all these base ideas for a movie that rings through with incredible truth, resonance just comes out like, but you know, we have all these admissions that their stuff comes from outside entities. I mean, so it's who knows where the line divides with all that.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it or what movie it was in. It may have been V for Vendetta or something like that. But one of the characters, or somewhere I read, fiction is just a way to tell lies that tell the truth.
Yeah. Sounds exactly spot on.
So, you know, I mean, because I get more out of watching like Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you watch Doctor Strange, which I know
that was great, yeah.
And you're like mind blown by some of the stuff they're showing you in that movie, and then Captain America and the Winter Soldier comes to mind.
Still got to see that.
It's just interesting how they inject. If you know what you're looking for, it's like hidden. It's like there's the fictional story on the surface. That's the entertaining story, and then there's these things they insert in the story that you can like, oh yeah, that's mirrored right out of real life.
Yeah.
That's
you know. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you had I know I can never remember this damn movie, but I know someone in the chat can help me with it. It's the movie about the guy who's trying to, I think, find his girlfriend or wife, and I think she fell into like a cult or something like that, and he ends up in this room with all these instruments, and runs across this really old, nasty, decrepit guy, and he starts saying like all the songs that you've learned or heard throughout your life, you know, came from me. And he starts singing Nirvana and I think Bob Seger, a bunch. I don't remember exactly, but all sorts of different songs. And And he's just saying, yeah, it all came from me. You think they wrote it? You think they wrote this, but I did.
Sure.
And a lot of that happened with the Beatles. I know that for certain with the Beatles. So
sure, the ancient Greeks had the muses that would inspire, and before Christianity altered daemons into demons, they were spiritual entities that could do both good or bad. And then they become demons under Christianity. So you have this kind of stuff in ancient writings, that there's these spirits that are
the
inspiring.
muses,
muses are inspiring stuff. So I don't know how much some of these because a lot of these Hollywood people, when you see them in interviews, or if you watch their, if you ever catch some of their personal life disasters on the news, and they're so incredible. And I don't watch like the Oscars or anything, but I see clips sometimes when somebody's making fun of something that happened at the Oscars, and they all seem, or those award shows, so full of themselves. They're so shallow, and then you wonder, how the heck do these people make profound entertainment with deep messages when their lives are like a disaster area?
It's great. It's just, I mean, they basically agreed. A lot of these people, I think the Beatles, I think they got handed songs, and basically they're the faces, and they get royalties, and they get all the glitz and glamour crap that comes with it, but they have to make agreements that bind them at least for their incarnation while they're here, but probably even beyond that. I just want to check in with you, Dan. I don't know if you want to keep going or you want to take a break.
No, I do have to go.
Okay.
I do have to go at this time. But is there any, I could take a couple minutes if somebody has a question or anything.
Yeah, let me see here. I think you can answer quite. Yeah. Okay. Have you seen Decode Your Realities videos from Logan? Are you familiar with his channel?
No, actually, I'm not.
Okay, I'll send you a link to his channel. It's pretty interesting. Although he kind of has his narrative is basically like, we don't have any control when we leave here and stuff, which is not good. But the way he breaks down some things are interesting, and very revealing. So
I'll check it out. Like I said, there's always some good information, even if somebody has like half something right and the other. Yeah,
definitely. I'll send you a link. Anybody have any questions they want to pop in really quick? The chat was moving fast kind of earlier. I thought there was a few more. If you have any questions, just pop them in the chat really quick. I think there was one or two people asked earlier if we can maybe just do a question and answer stream down the road. I don't know if you'd want to do that, or we can even kind of... Okay.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Because a lot of times I'm just babbling, and a lot of the stuff is not in any kind of chronological order, so I'm kind of scatterbrained all over the place. And sure,
that'd be great. Yeah, and then we'll eventually do a panel with Wayne probably later in the year with all three of us. I think that would be a lot of fun. And we'll do some, more topic driven. Maybe like it's kind of like what I'm going through with Wayne right now with the experiencers thing. I think that would be cool to maybe discuss some NDEs or, certain sections down the road. Let's see. We've got...
Well, there's a super chat or something.
Yeah, let's see. John Doe just sent a super chat for $9.99. Says, just wanted to say I wouldn't be here without Dan. What's the most important thing we can do to prepare for the afterlife?
You know what? I think, believe it or not, I've been reading a lot of books about you want to prepare. My thing is that you want to be a self, how should I say, person that's self-reliant in your individuality to an extreme. So you want to, if you want to study earthly things that can give you that mindset, You want to read all the books and things that are written by ex-spies or people that worked inside intelligence operations, like whether they were private sector or government, because they call it tradecraft or spycraft, but that is a skill set that these people are taught, and they have written. There's a book from an MI6 guy. I think it's Spy Skills for the Civilians. There's 100 Deadly Skills from Clint Emerson. He's an ex-Navy SEAL. When Violence is the Answer from Tim Larkin. These are all self-reliant individual. The concept is you're an individual. You're responsible for your own well-being. No one else is going to may be there to help you. And in this world today, whether you're in a hostile work environment or you're in a hostile school environment or whatever is going on in your life, relying on groups or other external forces to help you is not the right mindset. So if you want to prepare for death, where you're going to exert your individuality, you should start in life here while you can. And so a lot of these tradecraft books, I think there's a ex-CIA guy wrote a book, Spy Skills That Can Save Your Life. John Hansen, I think is his name. I've read all these books. I've been reading a lot of them. They teach you situational awareness, the mindset of, because these people are sent into hostile environments. They don't answer to anybody necessarily. They operate alone. Any kind of strategy book or tactical manual that teaches you how to be independent thinking and independent operating. And then when you ingrain that into your personality, into your subconscious, when your spirit leaves this body, you do carry whatever mindset you had here. That's why they're so easily able to manipulate religious people and materialists. I mean, a materialist atheist, for example, a pure materialist that believes there's no spirit world at all, doesn't understand it's an afterlife. They like Howard Storm, if you ever read his book.
Oh yeah.
Okay. He enters the afterlife. He is like somebody plucked out of he might as well have been somebody that was born in a town in the middle of America where 1,000 people lived, and you just dropped him in Times Square in the 1980s. The guy, any person that would have been in New York Times Square in the late 70s or early 80s would have been fodder for every con man, criminal out there. So these people have bad mindsets, and you can see that the mindset of your last incarnation upon death follows you into the immediate afterlife where you still have amnesia. So if you train your brain to be self-reliant and to learn these skill sets that these operators use in hostile environments where they can only rely on themselves, there's nobody there to help a spy in a foreign country. If they get caught, they're screwed. And, the government that sent them in there will probably abandon them. So they're 100% relying on themselves. So if you learn to rely on yourself, not only can you have defensive skills for while you're still alive here that will help you get by, especially with narcissists, psychopaths, bad bosses, authority figures that are out of control. Watch those audit channels that do the audits on the police, those First Amendment audits. Here are people standing their ground for their civil rights.
Yeah, just to push the limit. Yeah, just to make a point. Yeah.
Right. And you're also watching and learning somebody, because when an archon or a spirit parasite comes to you in the afterlife, you should react like that. I have rights and I have this and that. A lot of people just submit. They don't even question it. So that's my answer.
Yeah, great answer. Great answer. Love it.
All right. So I gotta call it
okay
for this interview.
All right, man. It's been great. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. This is a great talk, and I look forward to having some more. And everyone, just so everyone's out there knows, all the links to Dan's information is located in the description tab. I also want to welcome someone who is a new member of the Last Timers Club. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you again, AA, earlier for your super chat, and John Doe for your super chat. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. I also have some backup channels on YouTube. So should anything ever happen here, it's probably a good idea to go and subscribe to those and hit the bell for the notifications. The other thing is I do get messages still from some of you out there that you're not getting notifications of the live streams. The only suggestion I can make is to make sure that the bell is hit to all. Excuse me. And then also I have a Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and Odyssey and DLive. And I know Dan has an Odyssey as well, where he's uploading more over there. And then you have Gab and Twitter for Dan. And so there's a lot out there. All the links are in the description, and definitely check out his website. Check out a lot of Dan's I would work with Dan's channel from oldest to newest and just move forward. And you'll
lot of old stuff still has the religion tard stuff in there, just so you know.
Yeah, okay.
It took me a while to get rid of that brainwashing.
Sure. Yeah. So maybe a few years forward or something like that.
Just so you know, it's an evolving process.
I think I started watching all the way, which is cool because it shows your journey. It shows it right there, how you came to where you are today and everything. So I think that's pretty cool that you have all that documented. All the pain and the struggle, Dan. All right, buddy.
I'm looking forward to seeing you next time, Mark, and so we can continue this.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for spending some time, Dan, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you again.
Great talk.
Take care. Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, my friends, we will see you soon. Thank you so much. Have yourself a good rest of your weekend. And Wayne Bush is coming back next Saturday, which is the 19th, and he's also coming on the 20th and then on the 26th. So just so you guys know that will be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The 19th will be going over a lot of near-death experiences and OBEs, bunch of good stuff. That one's going to be a really in-depth show, so you're not going to want to miss that one. That one, it's going to probably be another long one. And if you haven't seen the first part of the Experiencer streams, those were yesterday. We did get cut off during the middle of our talk, so there are two videos. There's episode 5A and episode 5B, and then there is also the Last Timers Club member stream for levels 2 and 3 that will be on the 27th. I believe I have that scheduled for 4 p.m. as well, and there should be a link and further information on that in the next week, but that is the date, so if you want to save that would be cool. And yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you again. Stay safe out there, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.